He's Richard Skinner. I'm Chris Renkel. Day one of training camp in the books. Skinny, I don't think we could take a lot away from day one because they're just getting out there, getting used to things, but your overall impressions?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of what they wanted to do, ease into it. It's mandated by the NFL. There's no pads for the first few days of practice. They'll finally put the pads on when they're mandated and allowed to do so. Zach Taylor made that pretty clear. So you think this is a country club practice? No, this is a mandated NFL situation. I thought it went well. You wanted to see Joe Burrow throw. You wanted to see him throw accurately. I don't think he had great zip on the ball, and I'm not sure I was expecting him to, but he said he felt great. He said the wrist felt great. He said he thought he threw. He said he figured something out late in practice, mechanically maybe, that he felt a little more accurate with that. He did overthrow Tee Higgins on a deep ball, and as you know, that's not easy to do, so that shows there's some strength in that wrist and arm. So I think all told a good day, and you had a couple of plays by the defense, one by a young guy, Dejon Anthony, who I think has got a chance to make this team deep round draft pick. A safety made a great diving interception off of a tip ball, so even for those guys, it was a good day.
Defense usually has the advantage early on in camp, but go back to Burrow for a second, because obviously everything in this franchise, if you want to win, you got to have number 9 out there. I know all through the offseason he was throwing. He said the wrist was fine. For me, it was a big time to see him out there, see him acting like everything is normal, because, you know, the offseason's the offseason, but to see him out at training camp when it matters now, that was a big step for
And that's the thing. We saw him in OTAs, right? We saw him in the mini camp stuff. But it's you're basically going on air. There's no real defense you're going against. And most of the passes are really warm-up type passes. He's not letting it rip. I don't think he let it rip today, but I wasn't fully anticipating that. But I think, Chris, you know, you saw as much as I saw. I mean, I saw a guy who was accurate, which is his trademark. I saw him get rid of the ball on time, which is his trademark. And I think that velocity, the rotations, it didn't spin the way we've seen it spin before, and I'm not sure I was expecting it to. I think that will come as we go along here in camp.
All right, Jamar Chase did not practice today. Zach Taylor said Tee Higgins will not practice tomorrow. Zach says it's all part of getting these veterans eased into this, try to mitigate those training camp injuries. They do happen, but you want to try to get everybody ready for week 1 and healthy for week 1. You're not so convinced the Jamar Chase thing is a ease him into it.
I'm not, because, listen, he's in a contract situation. He is under contract through next year because they picked up his 5th-year option, but this is kind of the window when you hope to get things done. It didn't happen for Justin Jefferson. He played through it. I think Jamar's going to play through it, but this is your leverage point of I'm not going to go out there and practice and hurt myself. And I think I'll give Zach some credit for that, of him understanding the business side of it, of maybe the give and take of, listen, I'll give you a handful of days off here and there if you'll give me some other days, and I'll protect you by saying this is the plan all along. I think the same for Tee Higgins. I mean, listen, T's making guaranteed money this year, $21.8 million, but after this year, there's nothing guaranteed for him. And so, you know, you also don't want him going out there and getting hurt in a practice. He doesn't want to go out there and get hurt in a practice. So I think the give and take there is, all right, we'll give T a day to practice, then we'll give T a day here and there off. And I think that's him protecting the players. And I'm fine with that. But let's not kid ourselves. I mean, I think Jamar Chase, this is a minor sit-in. He didn't do anything in mandatory minicamp other than show up and go through some installs. He was mandated today to show up, or his contract actually, his 5th-year option would have got kicked down another year down the road. So he's not stupid. He showed up when he had to show up. And listen, he's involved in meetings and install, and he was out on the practice field. He was very attentive. So I'm not trying to diss Jamar whatsoever. I get the business side of this. But listen, when these contract stuff come along, it's just never easy when you're talking about this kind of money and this length of an extension.
And what he's going to get down the line.
Correct.
Absolutely.
What he hopes to get, yes.
You got to protect the bag before you get the bag. With these guys that aren't out, Trent Brown also not out there. As Zach Taylor said, it was some tightness. I get he's a 10-year pro. You got to maybe ease him into things if you want him.
He's a bigger guy, too.
He's a big dude, too. Those big dudes take care of him, especially on that offensive line. But there's a lot of opportunities out there for young guys. You mentioned Dejon Anthony with the interception. Yep. I think that's a safety position that really could use some depth. But then Amarius Mims getting a chance on the offensive line, and the other young wide receivers who are going to have to be a part of this. This is a big opportunity for them.
Yeah, and I will say, listen, there's some downside to know Jamar and T at the same time. But listen, they've been in this offense long enough. Joe Burrow's played with Jamar plenty long enough going back to college. So you don't really worry about timing and all that stuff, in my opinion. What it does is you're trying to find out who the third receiver is. And is that guy going to be the slot guy, or are we going to see Chase in the slot more? And will that be an outside guy? And all of those guys are going to get multiple opportunities in multiple ways. You'll see Charlie Jones in the slot, Charlie Jones out wide. You'll see Trenton Irwin in the slot, Trenton Irwin out wide. I didn't even mention Trenton Irwin. I mean, he's not a young guy, but he's in that mix too, and he had a really good day as well. It gives you a chance now to really mix and match and give those guys extra reps. And I think that's important too. I mean, listen, again, would I like Jamar Chase to be out there on day one because he's fully healthy and ready to go? Sure I would. Sure everybody would. But this, again, when that doesn't happen, there's opportunities for other, and you make the most of them.
All right, day one in the books. We'll find out more on day two and all the way to week one against the New England Patriots. Skinny and I breaking it down after each practice here on the Skinny Podcast.